and welcome to the Michigan History Nightmares video series, Volume 3, Book 5. And Book 5 is called The Michigan Fur Trade, a Hare-Raising Adventure. Now, if this is the first time you've joined me, you're going to need your special invisible Michigan pen. This will help you interact with the stories. So if you hold out your hand at the count of 3, I'm going to send you your pen through cyberspace. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Catch it. Good. Okay, now this story takes place on Halloween, and Mrs. Ojibwa has announced to the class that the whole school, kids, teachers, and everything, would be dressing for Halloween in costume the entire day. And their kids are going, yay! And she goes, well, just wait a minute, because our class is going to be dressing the costume of the 17th century. And so she figured they'd come as a voyageurs, possibly French fur traders, Native Americans. And Gary goes, oh, 17th century, that's a golden age of piracy. We can be pirates. Arr. So what's Mrs. Ojibwa going to say? Halloween morning dawns, and there is an announcement from the principal that they're going to be having a substitute for the French teacher, and please be on your best behavior. So in the morning, my kids go into the computer lab, and they put in the research for the Michigan fur trade. They pull through the computer, and they think they're on a French fur trading ship until they hear the cannon. Click your pens. The frightened children huddle together in the dark, smelly underbelly of the ship. I think it's time to click the pen and get out of here. Maybe being a pirate isn't all it's cracked up to be, said Gary. Click your pens. The light from the open hatch was suddenly blocked by a shadow. A large figure loomed over them. Looking up, the group locked eyes with a huge, grubby-looking pirate. As he began to descend the creaky stairs, they noticed his black buckled shoes, balloon-legged pants, and red velvet coat with silver studs. A shaggy black beard covered the lower part of his face. A gold bandana was tied around his forehead. The three-cornered black hat perched on his head completed the picture of the scary stranger. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Demanded the confused pirate. The children knew from their French lessons that he was asking, what is this? The pirate moved in closer to get a better look at the curious intruders. Quick, Katie, click the pen, Helena whispered. Katie reached into the pouch she had slung over her back and pulled out the Michigan pen. The pirate saw the strange object in her hand and grabbed for it. The boat gave a sudden pitch. The pen fell from Katie's hand and rolled across the floor. Get it, Gary, yelled Zach. The ship lurched again, causing the pen to roll back toward the pirate's outstretched hand. He snatched it up and began backing away from the frantic children as he closely examined the object in his grasp. He began to climb the stairs when Gary yelled, click the pen! He made a motion for the pirate to push down the plunger. The pirate paused on the top step and looked at Gary. He seemed somewhat amused by this boy's behavior. With a shrug of his shoulders and a shake of his head, like he thought Gary was crazy, he clicked the pen. Poof! The pirate was gone. Katie asked, so if we're still here, then the pirate must be, where do you think the pirate is? Okay, now the pirate crew went looking for their captain, and they come down, they discovered their children, and they think that these children might have spirited their captain away, so they decided they're going to have a trial, and they think maybe they're going to have to walk the plank. Suddenly, everything got very still. The pirates were no longer interested in their prisoners. All eyes were turned to the darkening skies. Enormous, threatening black clouds seemed to come out of nowhere and were rolling in at a rapid speed. The wind that once propelled the ship with a gentle hand was now becoming angry as it forced the vessel to plunge bow first into the turbulent ocean water. Within seconds, the crew jumped into action. Sails had to be trimmed and pulled in tight to spill the wind. Every sailor had a job to do to weather this storm that seemed to be building in strength with every passing second. Let's move, Gary yelled in order to be heard over the howling wind. The group made a dash for the open hatch. Once down below, they shut the door and retreated to a safe place. Now the hurricane raged on for days and days, and finally the ship ended up at the St. Lawrence River. When the winds calmed down, the children thought for sure the pirates' crew were going to make them walk the plank. But then there was a shipwreck, and the children found themselves at the mouth of the St. Lawrence River. As they followed the path, they are attacked by a black bear, so you're going to want to read that part. Now, meanwhile, back at school, let's find out what happened to the pirate captain. Now, the pirate finds himself in the computer lab, and he's a little disoriented, not sure where he is. He goes to the door. As he's standing there, Tyler, one of Katie's classmates, is walking back from the office and sees the pirate captain, thinks he's probably the sub because he looks a little like he's not sure where he is. And so Tyler escorts him to the room where they were going to have their French lesson, and the kids and Miss Ojibwa follow in. Each one introduces himself in French. So now the pirate captains feel a little more comfortable. So he's standing there. Tyler figures out, okay, he's really playing a joke on me. So Tyler looks at the lesson plans, and the first thing was to play the song Hare-Raising. So they're all singing, the pirate's really into it. Then the next activity was to go outside for French recess, where all the playground equipment is in French. So now they're at the slide, and the pirate's watching the children as they go down, thinking that this could be fun. Captain Bart started up the steps. The children watched as this giant man tried to climb the narrow ladder. Click your pens. His cumbersome black boots made it difficult to move without getting stuck. When he finally made it to the peak, he hoisted himself up and flung both legs over the top. His ride down was anything but pretty. Something on his coat must have caused the slide to become slick, and he lost his balance. His legs and arms flew up in the air. The three-cornered hat blew off into the wind, and with no way to stop, he jettisoned off the slide and hit the ground hard. The children stood looking at the disheveled heap sitting on the ground, not knowing what to do or say. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I would give that performance a 0, Tyler thought, as he went to give the captain a hand. Now the pirate righted himself, dusted off his pants, and collected his hat. When he looked like nothing was broken, the group moved to the jungle gym. Now, as the class was with the pirate, the actual sub kind of stopped by the door and apologized for being late. So Mrs. Ojib was saying, oh my goodness, and who's with my children? And as she's heading down toward the French room, she notices that this Michigan pen is under the computer table. So now she has to figure out, how does she get rid of the pirate, and how does she get Katie's group the pen? So she decides to send Tyler and Delissa through the computer to try to find the group. Now during this time, Katie's group has met the voyageurs. Okay, and we're going to pick the story up where Katie's taking notes on the lesson. Okay, rough waters ahead. Katie was busy entering all of this latest information into her notebook when she felt the river begin moving at a faster pace. She glanced up from her journal. The once easy, even strokes of the voyageurs had turned into choppy starts and stops as they steered the canoe through the rough patch of water. Katie put her notebook and pencil in her pouch and then held on tight. For a moment, it seemed like the boat was back on course. None of the children were ready for what happened next. Oh, click your pens. The canoe took a sudden nosedive over a small waterfall. The bow of the boat torpedoed under the rough water. The stern of the canoe rose up high in the air, almost tossing the frightened group of children into the churning water below. Jagged rocks hiding under the turbulent river popped up out of nowhere like ghosts on Halloween night in front and to the sides of the defenseless craft. The voyageurs managed to paddle around these hazards. Wave crashed over the canoe. The children closed their eyes from the stinging water that struck them from every direction. Then, without warning, there was an ear-piercing cracking sound as the boat smashed against a protruding rock and broke into pieces. The children found themselves being swept along with bits of the canoe. It was difficult for them to keep their heads above the water. The strong currents tugged and pulled at them as they tried to swim to shore. Zach grabbed at a branch sticking out from the bank and hung on. He snagged Katie's pouch as she swam over to him. They could see Helena, Gary, and Nick struggling to stay afloat. Quick, Zach, we have to do something, Katie screamed over the thunderous roar of the raging river. I know, Zach yelled as he watched his companions being carried downstream. Katie watched her friends fighting their way closer to the river banks. Okay, now we're going to get into the trailer for the next volume, for volume 4, and we all love the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. The Halloween party was well underway. Exciting chatter and laughter swirled around the partygoers. Children munched on buttery popcorn and warm donuts. These treats were washed down with some tangy apple cider. Heads bobbed up and down, buckets of water, as each child tried to get a bite of a slick, waxy apple. The party continued on into the evening. Eventually, the lights were dimmed. Everyone gathered around the storyteller, who was sitting in front of the fireplace in the center of the room. The snapping, crackling fire was a perfect backdrop for the spooky Halloween story about the Headless Horseman. Katie and her friends listened intently, hanging on to every word. Visions of this headless giant spirit riding a jet black steed in the dead of night gave them shivers. The party ended with the closing of the book. "Go quietly," warned the storyteller. "We don't want to disturb the spirit of the horseman." Everyone was silent. They gathered their coats and treats and left the safety of the Van Tassel house. There was a chill in the air as the 5 children ventured out into the night. A low fog covered the ground, creating an eerie scene. The October wind moaned as it rattled the bare tree limbs, and in the moonlight, tree branches cast shadows like skeleton arms reaching out to grab them. "I like scary," said Gary, "but this is beyond scary. It's more like," click your pens. The clippity-clop of a horse's hooves caused everyone to freeze. The easy pace of the horse now turned into a gallop. The moon slid out from behind a cloud. Horror wrapped itself around each child. There in the moonlight was a shiny black steed rearing up on its hind legs. With each snort, quick blasts of steam hung in the cold night air. Even more terrifying than the threatening horse was a headless man on his back. "Run," Zach yelled. "We need to get back over the bridge. The story said he can't follow us beyond there." The children bolted, making a run for safety. The horseman reared back on his steed and with a mighty throw hurled something at Katie. "Run, guys," Katie shouted. Okay, and if you click your pens again. All right, this is the link for volume 3. It's a YouTube video on the life of the voyageurs, and I actually used this video to help gain an understanding of how the voyageurs lived. Okay, so I will have this link posted on my website, lynnesmyles.com. Again, you can see my books and merchandise for sale on the website. If you have any questions or comments, I would love for you to email me. And if you feel that this video would be interesting to somebody, please share it. And now we're going to pan over to the next book we're going to be looking at. So are you prepared to find yourselves trapped in a parallel universe where ghosts from the past become your Michigan history teachers? Are you ready to encounter terrifying challenges, including quicksand and cannonballs? If so, join me for Volume 4, Book 6. Okay, and we'll see you then. Sweet dreams.